Welcome to the deep dive. Looks like someone's ready to move past those catchy Bitcoin mining headlines.
Absolutely. And get into some of the nitty-gritty details and really try to understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, when they first hear Bitcoin mining, they think of people with pickaxes in a digital cave.
Yeah, like a digital gold rush or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit more nuanced.
So let's start with why does Bitcoin mining even exist?
Well, it all boils down to this idea of decentralization. Unlike traditional currencies, which are controlled by central banks, Bitcoin operates on a distributed network.
Okay, so no single authority is calling the shots.
Exactly.
So how do you keep things in order? How do you keep things secure in a system with no central control?
And that's where miners come in.
Okay.
Bitcoin miners are essentially the backbone of this entire network.
Okay.
They're responsible for validating transactions and adding new blocks to the blockchain.
So they're the ones making sure that everything is running smoothly.
Securely. Yeah.
Securely.
Yeah. Smoothly and securely.
Okay, so I'm starting to get the big picture here, but how does mining actually work?
Okay, so think of it like this. Imagine a global competition where miners are racing to solve these complex mathematical problems.
Okay.
These problems require a ton of computing power, and the first miner to crack the code gets to add a new block of transactions to the blockchain.
So it's like a digital puzzle, and the winner gets to update the Bitcoin ledger.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the motivation? What's in it for the miners?
Well, that's where the incentives come in. Miners receive rewards for their efforts.
Okay.
Both in the form of newly minted Bitcoin, also known as BTC,
okay,
and transaction fees.
So there's a real financial incentive for them to keep the system going.
Exactly. This is what drives the entire ecosystem.
Okay, but with all this competition for rewards, doesn't that require a ton of energy? I mean, we've all heard about the environmental concerns around Bitcoin mining.
It's true. Mining does consume a significant amount of electricity. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
And it's a valid concern. However, the narrative often misses a key factor. Bitcoin miners are incentivized to find the cheapest energy sources possible.
Oh, interesting.
So this often leads them to utilize energy that would otherwise be wasted, like excess hydroelectric power or even flared gas from oil fields.
So it's not quite as simple as just saying Bitcoin is bad for the environment.
Exactly. It's a lot more nuanced.
Okay, so mining could actually be pushing innovation in renewable energy.
Potentially.
Yeah.
It's a possibility worth exploring. We'll dive deeper into this energy debate a bit later.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But it's important to understand the economics at play here.
Okay.
Miners are always looking for ways to cut costs and maximize their profits, and this can lead to some pretty interesting outcomes.
Okay, this is making me rethink my whole perception of Bitcoin mining.
Good.
But before we go too deep into that, let's talk about the value of Bitcoin itself.
Okay.
Why is this digital asset so valuable? What makes it worth all this effort?
That's a great question. So one of the key factors is its limited supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins created.
Okay.
And on top of that, with each halving event, the rate at which new Bitcoins are created is cut in half.
I see.
So this built-in scarcity, combined with increasing demand, contributes to its value proposition.
So it's like digital gold, which also has a limited supply.
That's a way, yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that Bitcoin blocks can hold more than just transaction data.
Oh, yeah.
What else can they store?
That's where things get really interesting. Just imagine a future where you could store things like your music library, important documents, or even your digital identity on the blockchain.
Wait, seriously? My music on the blockchain?
Yep, permanently and securely.
Why would I want to do that?
Well, think about it. A permanent and immutable record of your digital assets protected by a global network of computers. It raises some really interesting questions about the future of data storage ownership and even personal identity.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
It is.
It sounds like we're just scratching the surface here.
We are.
But if the blockchain is supposed to be this decentralized network, how does that work with these things called mining pools? Isn't it risky to have so much power concentrated in just a few large pools?
It's a valid concern. Solo mining on your own is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So most miners join pools to combine their computing power and increase their chances of winning rewards.
Makes sense.
But it's important to remember that miners have the freedom to switch pools whenever they want.
Okay.
If they disagree with an operator's actions, they can just pack up and go somewhere else.
So there's a kind of built-in system of checks and balances.
Exactly. This helps to mitigate some of the risks associated with centralization.
Okay, that makes sense. What about those cloud mining services I keep hearing about? Are those a good option for someone looking to get involved?
I would proceed with caution.
Okay.
Most cloud mining services are scams that promise unrealistic returns. Remember, Bitcoin mining is a competitive business with real-world costs involved.
Yeah.
So if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. Good advice.
A lot of people get burned by those.
It seems like there's a lot more to Bitcoin mining than meets the eye.
Absolutely. It's a complex and evolving ecosystem with both challenges and opportunities.
I'm definitely ready to learn more.
Good.
Let's unpack this energy consumption issue in more detail.
All right, let's do it.
Is it really as bad as some people make it out to be?
That's a great place to start. Let's take a closer look at the energy sources miners are using and explore some of the innovative solutions emerging in the world of sustainable Bitcoin mining. So about that energy debate. It's true. Bitcoin mining uses a lot of electricity, but it's not always the environmental villain it's made out to be.
You mentioned that miners are always hunting for the cheapest power possible. So does that actually push them towards more sustainable sources?
It can. Think about it. If a miner can get their energy from a source that would otherwise be wasted, they're not only reducing their cost, but also potentially reducing overall emissions.
Oh, okay. I see how that economic incentive could drive some positive change. But what about renewable energy sources like solar and wind? Can those realistically power Bitcoin mining operations?
Absolutely. And we're already seeing this happen. As the cost of renewables continues to fall, they're becoming increasingly attractive to miners. Some operations are even being built specifically to utilize solar or wind power.
So the future of Bitcoin mining could be a lot greener than people think.
It very well could be.
But what happens once all 21 million Bitcoins have been mined? What keeps the miners motivated if there's no more Bitcoin to be earned?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of Bitcoin's long-term sustainability. It's true that the block rewards will eventually disappear, but remember those transaction fees we talked about.
Right.
Even without block rewards, miners will still earn fees for processing transactions.
Right, those small fees users pay to incentivize miners to prioritize their transactions. But will those fees be enough to keep the entire mining ecosystem going? Can they really replace those block rewards?
That's the million-dollar question. And there's no easy answer. Some experts believe that as Bitcoin adoption grows and the network becomes busier, transaction fees alone will be sufficient to keep miners incentivized.
So a higher volume of transactions would lead to higher fees for miners, even without those big block rewards.
Exactly. But others argue that the current fee structure might need some adjustments, to ensure long-term profitability for miners and the security of the network.
It sounds like there's still a lot of debate surrounding the future of Bitcoin mining.
Oh, absolutely. There's still a lot of uncertainty.
It's fascinating to see the community actively grappling with these challenges, though.
It really is. It shows the innovative spirit of this whole ecosystem. Speaking of innovation, we've mainly been talking about Bitcoin, but it's important to remember that there are thousands of other cryptocurrencies out there.
That's true. I've heard of things like proof of stake, but I'll admit I'm not entirely sure how that differs from Bitcoin's proof of work system.
It's a fundamental difference in how consensus is achieved and how the network is secured. So in a proof of stake system, instead of miners competing to solve those complex puzzles, validators are chosen based on the amount of cryptocurrency they hold and are willing to stake as collateral.
So instead of using raw computing power, you're proving your commitment to the network by putting your own coins on the line.
Exactly. If a validator acts maliciously, they risk losing their staked coins. So this mechanism is often seen as more energy efficient than proof of work. But it also has its own set of potential drawbacks.
Like what?
Well, one concern is that proof of stake systems could lead to greater centralization, because those with the largest holdings have more influence on the network. And there are also questions about how effectively they can prevent certain types of attacks.
So it seems like the choice between proof of work and proof of stake involves a lot of trade-offs.
Definitely. Each system has its own strengths and weaknesses, and the best approach might vary depending on the goals of a particular blockchain.
This whole discussion has been really eye-opening. I feel like I've learned so much about Bitcoin mining and blockchain technology in general.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, imagine a world where supply chains are completely transparent and traceable, where voting systems are secure and tamper-proof, where your digital identity is entirely under your control, These are just a few areas where blockchain is already making an impact.
That's incredible. It sounds like blockchain has the potential to revolutionize so many aspects of our lives.
It really does. And as we dive deeper into this topic, you'll see more and more connections and possibilities.
This is all so fascinating. I can't wait to explore more.
We'll be back after a quick message to continue our journey into the world of blockchain technology.
Okay, we're back, and my mind is still buzzing from that last segment.
It's pretty amazing stuff when you really think about it. The potential of blockchain technology goes way beyond cryptocurrency.
Right. It's about changing how we think about trust and systems in this increasingly digital world.
Exactly.
Earlier, you mentioned things like supply chains and voting systems becoming more transparent with blockchain. So how does that actually work?
Okay, so think of it this way. Blockchain creates this permanent auditable record of every step in a process or every transaction in a system.
Okay, so it's like a digital trail that everyone can see and verify.
Exactly. Let's take a supply chain, for example. With blockchain, you could track a product from its origin all the way to the consumer, recording every single step along the way.
Wow, so no more shady practices or questions about where products are coming from.
Right. Consumers would know exactly what they're buying, and businesses could streamline their operations and reduce waste.
That's incredible. And what about voting? How could blockchain make our elections more secure?
Well, one of the biggest issues with traditional voting systems is making sure that votes are counted accurately and that they can't be tampered with. Blockchain could help with this by creating a secure and transparent record of every single vote cast.
So no more hanging chads or doubts about election integrity.
It could definitely help with that. Of course, it's not a perfect solution.
Right.
There's still challenges like voter identification and accessibility to consider.
Right.
But blockchain offers a really powerful tool for enhancing security and building trust in democratic processes.
It really does seem like there are endless applications for this technology. We've talked about supply chains, voting, even storing personal data on the blockchain. So what else is out there? What other possibilities are people exploring?
Well, one area that's been getting a lot of attention lately is NFTs.
NFTs, right. Everyone's talking about them. But to be honest, I'm still a bit fuzzy on what they actually are.
Okay, so basically an NFT is like a digital certificate of authenticity for a unique digital asset. It could be a piece of art, a collectible item in a video game, even virtual real estate in the metaverse.
So instead of owning a physical painting, I could own the digital original verified by the blockchain?
Exactly. And because it's on the blockchain, it's impossible to counterfeit or duplicate.
Okay.
This opens up a ton of possibilities for artists, collectors, and creators.
It sounds like blockchain is changing how we think about value and ownership in the digital world.
It really is. And that's one of the things that makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not just about making small improvements. It's about rethinking how we interact with the digital world from the ground up.
I have to say, this whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
It feels like we've just scratched the surface, but I'm definitely eager to learn more.
That's the beauty of it. We're still in the early days of blockchain technology.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now is just a glimpse of what might be possible.
So where should someone who's completely new to this all begin? It can be a little overwhelming trying to figure out where to start.
My advice would be to stay curious. There are tons of resources available online, articles, videos, podcasts, even online courses. Start by exploring topics that interest you and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Great advice. I'm definitely feeling inspired to keep learning and keep digging deeper.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And remember, you don't need to be a tech expert to understand the basics of blockchain and how it might impact our future.
Yeah. This is a topic that affects everyone regardless of their background. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
I think the most important thing is that we're all shaping the future of this technology. It's not just about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, it's about finding new ways to build trust and create value in a digital world. And that's something everyone can be a part of.
That's a powerful message. Thanks for joining us today. It's been great having you on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin mining and the vast potential of blockchain technology. We hope you found it informative and inspiring. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.